So, our team's project is titled Retired Life. My name is Kyla, and my fellow team members are Candy and Ahmed. So, for Sprint 1, our team's main goal was to deliver a playable prototype that allows the user to experience the core activities of farming, fishing, and adventure, enabling the testing of core game functions and player interaction. We planned on delivering several key features. Firstly, we plan to implement a basic farming system where players can plant and harvest crops. Secondly, we plan to introduce a simple fishing system, allowing players to catch fish and store them in their inventory. And thirdly, we plan to build a small scale map to serve as the environment for these activities. Alongside this, we plan to implement a basic inventory system so that collected items can be stored and managed by the player. Together, these features give us a functional prototype that demonstrates the game's core loop and lays the groundwork for future development in the next sprint. So, for our definition of done, this is just a checklist that ensures that every user story meets the highest quality standards before being considered complete. It means that all acceptance criteria is met, code follows agreed standards, and the work is peer reviewed. Features must be fully tested, meet non-functional requirements, and include updated documentation. The code is then integrated, passes the build pipeline, and is ready for deployment. Finally, the stakeholders will review and approve the work. And I'm just going to pass it on to Ahmed.
Well, our goal for Sprint 1 was to make a playable prototype where the player could try out the basics of our game, such as farming, fishing, and marketplace activities. The idea was to get the main parts of the game working early on, so we could test out how things fit together and see how the player interacts in the world. When we set up the sprint backlog, we focused on the must-haves and should-haves user stories. The must-haves were really important stories such as being able to move around the marketplace with logical collision, planting and harvesting crops, interacting with multiple farm plots, and the complete map of the fishing scene. The should-haves were extra things that just make the game feel better, like such as character movement animation. In the end, we didn't really reach our sprint goal, but we did manage to get quite a few things right, such as the player can move around the marketplace, and there's logical collision with certain objects. The character has movement animations, farming works with planting and harvesting crops, and the player can interact with more than one farm plot. And we also added the full map of the fishing scene, but fishing itself isn't playable yet, and so is the shopping system. So while we didn't get the full farming, fishing, and marketplace experience that we wanted, we do have a solid base to work on. And now, if we look at the burn down chart, it shows where we struggled. The blue line would have been the ideal progress that we would have wanted, but our actual red line stayed flat for a while. We did have one teammate unexpectedly stop communicating, and we did have multiple issues with GitHub that we spent a ton of time troubleshooting, which slowed us down quite a bit. And on top of that, our planning wasn't the best. We tried to take on too much at once instead of breaking it into smaller tasks, so nothing was marked done until later on towards the end of the sprint. And now I'll pass it over to Kyla to show her scene.
Sweet. So I was in charge of the farming scene. So what we have here is very basic, but the player is able to move around. And what we're looking for is a free plot for the player to be able to plant their crops. So to plant the crops, you just press P, and you can see there's like a little bit of soil there. To grow the plants, press G. And then to harvest, press H, and that will be sent over to the inventory, which we are still developing. And yeah, that's what we have so far. And I'll pass it over to Ahmed to share his scene.
Okay. This is my scene as of now. It's just the basics have been done: movement, animations, collision with objects. But obviously later on, when you walk over to the NPC shopkeeper, the shop UI will open up, and you'll be able to buy weapons, food, fishing materials, and much more. And you would also be able to trade and sell items if you wanted. And that's pretty much it for my scene, and I'll pass over to Candy.
Hi, I'm Candy. So I'm talking about the fishing scene. So here's my fishing scene map. I only built up the map. I haven't built up the characters and the fishing animations. So in the future, I was planning to make a NPC in here where I can sell and buy items, fishing items like lures and something other things. So the characters will be able to fish in all these dock deck. So that's what I'm planning to do. So back to this slide. I'm going to review our sprint today. While we face significant challenge, we gain valuable concrete lessons that will drastically improve our future performance. My review will cover two parts. First, the problem we encounter and the lessons learned. And second, our 4-point plan for improvement in the next sprint. First, let's look at the unfinished user story. Unfortunately, we were unable to complete several major features in this sprint. The list is including making a world map, resource collection, the monster battle system, saving game progress, the level system, the marketplace, and the mechanics for harvesting crops, and planting seed. The sheer number of incompleted tasks indicate a fundamental issue with our initial scope and estimation. Second, our biggest lessons learned concern the difference between estimate and actual time. We severely underestimate the vast knowledge and technical skills required to build a game, which meant a massive amount of time has to be factored in for upskilling. For example, the user story for implementing the beach fishing since was allocated 15 days. However, the hand-draw asset creation alone assumed nearly 10 days, and we still haven't completed the character rigging and the fishing animations. This shows a deep gap in our initial understanding of required effort. Also, we face unforeseen work that dramatically impact our schedule. Our team repeatedly ran into issues with Git push on GitHub, resulting in missing or corrupted files. We spent considerable time troubleshooting these infrastructure issues, pulling development time away from core game features. And based on this lesson, what we have need to improve in the next sprint, we have developed a 4 strategy to ensure more successful and efficient next sprint. First, we need to improve our time management. Our poor time management was a result of inaccurate estimation. In the next sprint, we will focus on proactive progress by setting a clear goal. The team must complete at least one defined task every 3 days. This provides constant momentum and clearer accountability. Second, addressing knowledge gap. The lack of essential technical knowledge, such as finding Unity asset, proper Git push procedures, and solving package missing errors, significantly slow us down. Moving forward, before starting any task, we will confirm we possess the necessary skills. If we don't, we will dedicate time to learn the necessary knowledge together as a team. Third, boosting motivation and realistic scope. We lack urgency because we initially underestimated the project scope. By committing to better estimation, such as we discussed in point 2, we will cultivate a more realistic perspective, which will in turn drive greater proactive development and team motivation. Last, effective communication. While we communicate often on Discord, our discussion often lacked concrete resolution and resources sharing was inconsistent. To fix this, we implement a new protocol. Every team discussion on Discord must conclude with a formal summary and action review. This ensures that decisions are solidified and next steps are clear and everyone is on the same page. In summary, this sprint taught us crucial lessons about scope, upskilling, and process. Our 4 new focus areas, setting frequent deliverables, closing knowledge gap, boosting proactive activity, and formalizing communication, are designed to make our development process structured and successfully. Thank you. That's all I have to talk about today.
How long was it?